Welcome to the new Recommender with me, Jeff Roberts, and...
Sorry, mate. Just driving. I'm Johan.
Yeah, he's Johan, and you're probably expecting that this would be a recording from our tour. We just finished the first show, which was in Dundee. We stayed there last night, and now Johan is driving us back to South Wales. I'm the one driving us there, and Johan is driving us back, and that's how we're splitting it. So yes, why are we speaking to you like this? Well, we mentioned in the Christmas episode that Dave PA wasn't able to accompany us for the recording of each live show because they're a week apart. So we tried to sort it out ourselves, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't work. We got about 5 minutes in, and then obviously something went wrong and the recording cut off. So yeah, we only discovered that once we were off stage. The show itself was fine, you know. It was the first one, so you can't expect everything to be perfect. But also, you'll probably notice that I'm the one speaking to you right now, and that's because John Starham, requested that we shake up the dynamic of the podcast, bring some freshness to it. So he suggested that I do the links and take the lead spot, as it were, and that Johan's role was more like, I can't think of the word, but he's the one bouncing off me, as opposed to the other way around. I think that's a fair way to describe it. I don't know how you feel about that, Johan, but I think it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, John has every right to request that. He's our boss, ultimately. He's in charge of the podcast. The issue is, it's not an issue, really. I don't have an issue with it. It's just that it didn't make for a great live show, is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't bad or anything. I had plenty of people come up to me and say, yeah, it was good. But it probably wasn't what we wanted it to be, let's be honest. It didn't go as well as we hoped. And I think part of that was due to us not really knowing how the new dynamic is going to work.
Yes, yeah, and I'm sure people are going to say this has happened because I've put the money into Starham House and I'm opening Tray of Sunshine there.
No, that is not it. That's not how John operates.
Exactly. In theory, it's a good decision.
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen. I'm happy to do what John wants. It's just the timing wasn't great, that's all. And then the stuff with the audio on top. But just, you know, we're coming back from our first tour date now, and we're not going to be able to put out the show we wanted for our listeners, and that's disappointing, isn't it? I don't know what else to say, really. Yeah,
so we decided just to record something on my phone while we're here in the car on the way back from Dundee. We thought we'd be honest with you, our listeners, because, well, we knew what you'd be expecting. We'd been hyping it up for weeks, months now. How this series was going to be the new Recommender Live, and that's the version of the show you were going to hear, but you know, it just didn't happen. Well, it didn't happen in Dundee anyway. Now, what that means for the rest of the series, well, we're still working that out. We just wanted to get something out there for the first episode, so you knew what was going on. And then, yeah, when we arrive back in South Wales, we'll have a chat, and maybe we'll have a word with John as well, and we'll see where we can go from there. I've got no doubt that, you know, if you're coming to one of our new Recommender Live shows in the next few weeks, that we're going to get there in terms of the dynamic, in terms of how the show runs. And it might be that these are in-person events, and that's it. And that's all it might ever be. It's a live show, and if you were there that night, you got to see it. That's great, you know, that's theatre. Is there something else you want to say? You said you wanted to talk about the ultramarathon and stuff?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm in full training mode. I thought what I'd do is share my stats over the weeks leading up to the middle of March when it's taking place, so you can all hear how I'm getting on. And of course, I'd like to say that I'm sponsored by Omega Body Fuel. They are fueling my future right now, and I'm extremely thankful to them for doing that. I feel great. I don't want to say they could hook it up to my veins, but sometimes after I've had a few of those, that's what I feel like doing. It's great stuff. And if you want to fuel your future, then take advantage of the introductory offer on the Omega Body Fuel website. Enter the code TNR20, that's the number 20, TNR20 for 20% off your first order. Now, I'm not going to say specifically which app I've been using, because we've had enough trouble with these things in recent history, but I'll give you my average pace, moving time, elevation gain, calories burned, and average heart rate.
I think just your average pace would be fine, to be honest.
Yeah? Okay, then what I'll do is I'll post the detailed breakdown on social media. Right, so my first per kilometre time from the start of January was 10 minutes 24 seconds. I pulled my hamstring doing that, so I had to take a couple of weeks off. But then after that, it's been a steady improvement week by week, and I'm now at 8 minutes 57 seconds, which I know is not quick, but I'm aiming for endurance rather than speed.
What kind of distance you up to now?
Can't remember. I'm just letting the app tell me what to do, basically. I think it works that when my average pace gets to a certain point, it ups the length of each run, something like that. It's amazing technology, does it all through analytics. And like I say, combined with the Omega body fuel, honestly, I feel like a lot of the effort's been done for me. I do still have to run, obviously, but as far as nutrition and stamina development go, I'm in good hands. Yeah, that's it. Anything else from you, Jeff, seeing as you're the man with the plan?
No, I just want to say that, we're looking forward to being up in Middlesbrough next week. Can't wait to see you smoggies. And the live show it'll be the live show. We know that much. But what the rest of the series looks like, we're going to discuss it, like I said, and we'll let you know, or we'll let you find out yourselves next week. And we'll go from there. All right, yeah, that's it for now. I've been Jeff.
I'm Johan.
And this has been the New Recommender on Starham Sound. And we'll cut it there. Do you know how we're going to add the music for this? So we're just going to upload it as is.
Starham Sound.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommender with me, Jeff Roberts, and my co-host, Johan Morris. I'm in the passenger seat, he's at the wheel, and we're delighted to be speaking to you en route to South Wales. We're on the way back from Middlesbrough, and after discussing it last week, we decided to make a virtue of the situation. So instead of the series being the New Recommender Live, it will now be the New Recommender Drive. Yes, so after each live date, we're going to record an episode on the drive home. It's rough and ready, we know that, but listening back to last week, we felt that we'd happened upon a truthful and authentic iteration of the New Recommender. Yeah, and we're going to stick with it.
Agreed, and I think that helps distinguish this as a different thing from the normal New Recommender podcast as well, which has historically been lead presented by me, so now people can understand that you, Jeff, are the one taking that role in this spin-off version. And yeah, it does feel like we stumbled upon something exciting here, so let's go with it. The other great thing is that knowing the plan in advance means we're able to get Dave PA involved to add the music at the beginning and the end. It's not his usual amount of work. In fact, we don't want him to do the full production and editing job for the New Recommender Drive. That's not what we're going for. And for that reason, he's not getting his usual rate, but it's still more than he would have had if we'd continued with the New Recommender Live, because he wasn't getting anything for that.
Pleased to have you back, Dave. Now, yes, with this new format comes new segments, and Johan, you've got an idea that you want to try out.
That's right, this is a recommendation podcast after all, and we've done every variation on that theme that you can imagine over the years, but I don't think we've done this one. We're going to go back and forth week by week, and we're going to read out a list we've made of 10 things. They can be anything, objects, places, so on. And the other person will have to say if they recommend them. And the idea is to get all 10 in under a minute.
When you say get all 10, what do you mean?
As in, you say yes to all 10 things.
And what happens then?
Well, it's going to be very unlikely, but if that happens, then that'll be the winner of the series.
Do you mean one of us is the winner?
No. The list of 10 things, that list of 10 things is the winner.
Right. But couldn't I just say yes to 10 things?
You could, but that would be cheating.
How would you know?
Well, it's just us two playing, so I think we'd know if the other person was cheating.
How are you going to read your list?
I've got it here on my phone. Don't worry, I'm just going to glance down at it. I'm not going to take my eyes off the road, obviously. And that's why I wanted to do it when we were on the motorway, because then there's less chance of crashing.
Okay, I'll be honest, I don't get it. But yeah, let's give it a go. And I suppose I'll give you a heads up if anything's coming.
Great. Okay, I'm calling this recommendation examination, by the way. Just waiting now for the clock on the dashboard to change to a new minute. And that's when we'll start. And go. Krispy Kreme donuts.
And I'm just going to say yes or no.
Yes, you're against the clock.
Yes.
Coldplay.
Yes.
France.
France the country.
Yes.
Yes.
Cats.
Yes.
Dogs.
Yes.
Fish.
As pets?
No, to eat.
No.
And that's the end of today's recommendation examination. How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5! That's really good, especially for a first go. And I wasn't sure if you get past Coldplay. I didn't know.
So, are you trying to stop me getting 10?
No, I'm just making a list of things.
But presumably, because you know me, you could write down 10 things that you know that I don't like.
Yeah, but again, that will be cheating, and I don't think that will make it very fun for the listeners. Anyway, 5 is the score to beat next week on recommendation examination, when Jeff will be in charge of the list.
Moving on then, a bit of personal news, only because people have asked. Yes, the divorce is going ahead, and just in the past week I found out that my wife's lawyer for the proceedings is going to be John Haining, a name I'm sure you're all familiar with. He was my lawyer up until last year, and he helped us out in the early days of the new recommender. But obviously, this is a betrayal. It's a personal vendetta, I would say, and I'm going to protest it in whatever way I can. I admit I don't know how any of this stuff actually works, but I have to think it's a conflict of interest, and yeah, that's where we're up to with all that stuff. And that's it for us this week.
No, hang on. I just want to quickly update everyone that my average pace is now 8 minutes 51 per kilometre, and to remind our listeners that they can get 20% off their first order of Omega body fuel with the code TNR20. That's the number 20, TNR20. Also, I forgot to mention this last week. Thanks to all the charities who got in touch after the Yule Recommender when I said I was looking for possible fundraising opportunities. As it turns out, my sponsorship with Omega Body Fuel is an exclusive deal, and they won't allow me to represent any other organisations at the Unfit to Ultra event. There were some very worthy causes, no doubt, but I've got to honour my agreement.
Great. Next week we'll be speaking to you on the journey back from Hull. Still plenty of tickets left for that, and for all the remaining New Recommender live shows, actually. So come and join us for an evening of laughs and memories and some material that, well, we can now say will be 100% exclusive to these events, and we hope to see you there. So from me, Jeff, on behalf of us, Johan and Jeff, this has been the New Recommender Drive on Starham Sound.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.
Starham Sound.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommender Drive with me, Jeff Roberts, and my co-host, Johan Morris. I'm in the passenger seat, he's at the wheel, and we're delighted to be speaking to you en route to South Wales. We've just come off the M42, we've merged onto the M5. Now it's just a nice straightforward journey the rest of the way. Well, what can I say? We've had a hell of a time in Hull last night, or a hull of a time you might say. A lovely place filled with lovely people, and overall it was a lovely experience. The only sour note is that the right brake light on the car was smashed overnight. I'm not going to blame Hull for that, because there's scum everywhere. I feel like this new dynamic is starting to click in a big way, though. I think the decision to make the podcast and the live show separate things has made them both better. It's taken the pressure off in a way, because we're not thinking about the technical stuff, and frankly, we're not worried about what we can or what we can't say when we're on stage. We're more relaxed, and I think, based on last night, that goes for the audiences as well.
It was the best so far, yeah. I know that I'm still adjusting to the change, but if that's not apparent to listeners or the people at the shows, then great. Like you say, Live and Drive are both benefiting from not having the expectation that comes with being the main thing, the real podcast, so we can just go out and enjoy ourselves, or on here just chat in a casual environment. I was going to say though that I'd love to get some feedback from listeners, whether they've come to the shows or they've got thoughts about this version of the podcast. If they can be improved, that's what we want to do, you know. These are pliable formats, and likewise, if there's anything in particular that you're enjoying, let us know.
That's a good shout. Obviously, with the new Recommender Live, we're getting that instant feedback in the form of laughter or cheers or whatever. But audience interaction's always been a big part of the podcast, so yeah, do get in touch.
And let me just get in ahead of this stuff, because I know if I don't, it'll be the type of thing that people are messaging us about. We are aware that the listings of the episodes are wrong. That was all set up before the series to make the process of uploading the shows easier. But now we can't go back and then change it. So today's episode will say episode 30 live in Hull, but what it really should say is TNR Drive episode 2.
Yeah, I'm looking now, and last week's episode's description said, "Welcome to the new Recommender Live. It's the second show of the tour, and today's episode comes to you from Middlesbrough. So sit back and enjoy an hour of laughs, loves, and maybe even a special guest or two." Johan is sponsored by Omega Body Fuel.
Right, and obviously that information wasn't an accurate reflection of the episode, apart from my Omega Body Fuel sponsorship. And last week's artwork also incorrectly claimed that you were listening to an episode of the new Recommender Live, when in fact it was an episode of the new Recommender Drive. But as you can see, that is something we've been able to rectify. The episode listings, unfortunately, are probably going to have to stay as they are, but of course you'll be reminded at the beginning of each episode that it's the new Recommender Drive you're listening to, not the new Recommender Live, and hopefully that's not going to cause any confusion. All of which is to say that we're not in Hull today. We are, like Jeff said, on the way back to South Wales from Hull, after being live in Hull last night.
Yeah, I think that was clear already. So, recommendation examination. Do you want to do that?
Let's do it.
All right, yeah, I've got a list here. I wrote it out this morning. If you've missed Johan explaining the rules last week, I would suggest going back and listening to that episode, because it's all there, and I think we should just crack on with it today. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, your call.
Okay then. I'll just wait for the clock on the dashboard to change to the new minute. And go. Coffee.
Easy. Yes.
Spiders.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, and that's the end of this week's recommendation examination. That was one, wasn't it?
Who's going to say yes to spiders?
Some people like them.
Yeah, maybe like 5% of people at most. But fine, last week's score is still the one to beat, so let's see what happens next week.
Okay, now I'd just like to update everyone on the status of Starham House. I'm pleased to say that there is now building-wide electricity and running water. Really feels like it was worth putting up with the cold and the inconvenience over the winter months, because honestly now it's like living in a hotel. Another bit of good news is that John Starham has decided to push forward on the retail spaces ahead of finishing the accommodation. All the ongoing legal uncertainty has meant that the student uptake for that part of Starham House has been slower than anticipated, which is completely unfair in my view. So the completion of those areas is now going to be staggered. However, it does mean that Tray of Sunshine will open sooner than expected. We're hoping to have a firm date in the next week or so, but the plan right now is that Tray of Sunshine will be open before the end of March.
Great news, really great news. You're going to be a busy boy with that, and the tour and the podcast, but you know I'm happy to lend a hand however I can.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. Do you want to do your unfit to ultra stuff now?
Yes, thanks. So this past
hang
week...
on.
What?
Please.
Can't hear anything.
No, they're in the mirrors. They're saying pull over.
You're joking.
Oh, I bet it's that brake light.
Oh, great.
Are you pulling over?
Yes, I'm doing it now. Let's just cut it there. Cut it there.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2 for 1 Cocktails by Ram and Shackle.
Starham Sound.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommended Drive with me, Jeff Roberts, and my co-host, Johan Morris. I'm in the passenger seat, he's at the wheel, and we're delighted to be speaking to you en route to South Wales. We're on a familiar journey home this week, M42, M5, M50, M4, and that takes you up to the proverbial front door. Last night we were in Derby, and Derby, well, you were a joy. That was the best show yet, I'd say. It was so good, in fact, I kind of wish we recorded it. But no, it's one and done, and I think that's going to stick with me for a long time.
It was great fun, really was, yeah.
I've got to say, you were bang on form. Really, really funny last night, chipping in with these little remarks and, well, not to pull the curtain back too much, but that new bit you were doing where you pretended to be annoyed with me that I'm the lead presenter, that stuff's just priceless. Yeah, massive laughs for that.
That's the good thing about having this time between the shows, is that you can kind of assess what works and what doesn't, and really fine-tune it.
And that's a nice segue into the feedback we've had. We've asked for it and we've got it. It's mostly complimentary and we really appreciate that. And when there has been criticism, it's been constructive, which can also be helpful. So yes, lots of brief comments like these ones. These are all regarding the live show from Hull last week. Alan said, great. Dave said, good fun. And Hugh said, decent value for money. Delia said that she travelled for 2 hours to see the show. Thank you, Delia. She said that the new dynamic took a while to get used to, but by the end of the night she was sold. And she especially loved the story about Louis Walsh. Yes, that is quite the story. Always goes down well. It's not something you're going to be hearing on the podcast, I can say that. I've definitely got enough legal matters on my hands at the moment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely not. But thank you, everyone, for your kind words. Keep that feedback coming. We love to hear from you. I mean, we felt like last night was a good one, and we just hope that translated. But also, I should say, we're at the point now, almost halfway through, where we're able to gauge how the financial side is looking, and honestly, it's not great. It's looking very much like the New Recommender Live will be a money loser when it's all said and done. That's not the end of the world, but it was always a risk when we were doing it ourselves. It's not something that John Starham's financed. He's still looking out for us in a general sense and, you know, chipping in with creative suggestions. But when it comes to actually putting on the tour, that's all been us. And, well, mostly me, actually. I don't think Jeff would mind me saying, because, you know, you've got so much tied up in Tray of Sunshine.
Yeah, no, I've put a bit in, but it's probably, what, 70-30? And listen, John's got a lot on his plate with Starham House and the ongoing stuff that just won't go away, so, you know, we weren't expecting a handout.
No, and listen, this isn't me complaining, by the way. Live entertainment is always a risk. And we've enjoyed doing these shows.
We definitely have. And just on Tray of Sunshine, since you brought it up, it's getting fitted out next week. That's all been booked in. It's a special team coming in because this is what's called a hybrid space, being a cafe/shop. They'll be there for a week. We're also at the point when we're interviewing for staff and, well, we've got an opening date. Yes, Tray of Sunshine will be open to the public for the first time on Saturday, March 29th. And I'm going to be working my socks off to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be.
Yeah, I knew all that already, and I've said this to you, but it's so pleasing that after all this time, so much patience and sacrifice, you know, not least your marriage, that it's finally going to pay off.
Oh, thanks, mate. Shall we do a bit more of the feedback? Because I think we've got some about this, the New Recommended Drive podcast.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this one's from our good lady Peter from the Commuting podcast, who says, loving the new format. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah, and I think what this person is implying is that they also have a podcast that's recorded in the car or some other vehicle.
Right, okay. Well, thanks for getting in touch, Lady Peter. I can't say I knew about that podcast. I'll be honest, I don't listen to many podcasts, and that's just a case of knowing how the sausage is made. It's not a reflection of quality. But I'm well aware that we're not the first people to do a show while driving, be it audio or visual. However, I don't think anyone's done one where they've been driving back from a live show. To me, that feels fresh. That's a strong hook. But yeah, the general idea is familiar. So keep doing what you're doing on your podcast, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Another one here. I don't think I've seen this one. It says, not a fan of the new dynamic. Can't believe you've effed up your own podcast like that. Won't be coming to the live show if this is what it's like. Oh, and now I see who it's from. Vertical Hijack.
Who's that?
Vertical Hijack, do you remember? It's that troll. A couple of years ago, they were harassing me, getting in touch with my workplace when I just moved back up north. That's seriously weird.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was funny. I have no memory of that at all.
It's fine. Yeah, we should probably just vet them all before reading them out. Do you want to do your stuff?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to update everyone last week because we got pulled over by the police. I was all fine, by the way, and the brake light is fixed. I wasn't cheap. Anyway, yes, my per kilometre time is now 8 minutes, 18 seconds, and at this point I'm shaving off about 5-10 seconds every day. I'm ramping up because the race itself is taking place in just over a week and a half, and I'm feeling good. Jeff, we can stop if you like.
What's left?
For me, it's just recommendation examination.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that. Well, I've got my list here, and let's just wait on the clock to change. And go. Guitar solos.
No.
Okay, that's the end of today's recommendation examination. 5 is still the score to beat. Is there anything else?
No. Although I said a couple of weeks ago about how my former lawyer, John Hayden, was representing my wife in the divorce and how I thought it was a conflict of interest. Well, apparently it isn't. So that's going ahead. And that's it for this week. Next week's live show is in Luton, so hopefully some of you will be there. So from me, Jeff, on behalf of us, Johan and Jeff, this has been the New Recommended Drive on Starham Sound.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.
Starham Sound.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommender Drive with me, Jeff Roberts, and my co-host, Johan Morris. I'm in the passenger seat, he's at the wheel, and we're delighted to be speaking to you en route to South Wales. M1, M4, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Last night we were in Luton. It's a good show, solid show. We're both a bit tired today though, because, well, there was some kind of party going on at the hotel we were staying in.
Yeah, I think it was a wedding.
Yeah, whatever it was, they didn't shut up all night.
Yeah, I barely slept.
Anyway, thanks Luton. Yeah, so what order should we do the stuff in today?
Up to you. That's a lead presenter privilege.
Okay, we'll start with some more feedback. Yeah, I've got one here from Matt, who was at the live show last week in Derby. He says, funny, really funny. A 9 out of 10. The only disappointment, he says, was the lack of a special guest, and for that I dock you a point. Well, thanks, Matt. Yeah, lovely to hear from you.
Can I just address that, actually, the special guest thing? I think this is because of the episode descriptions, which again were written before the series started, and they were supposed to reflect our plans for the New Recommender Live. That has all changed. We explained this extensively a couple of weeks ago, so maybe Matt should make sure he's up to date with the podcast before criticising us. But also, I can check this, but I'm pretty sure it says, and maybe a special guest or two, which is by no means a promise. I'm sorry to say there won't be any special guests. There haven't been any so far, and there won't be any for the remainder. And that's because of the financial situation. The tour is losing money. I've got the ultramarathon this weekend. Jeff's got Trail of Sunshine opening soon. He's getting divorced. We've both got the live tour and the podcast. This isn't some big business with staff. This is me and Jeff, John Starham chipping in ideas, not money, and then, you know, Dave PA's there on the fringes doing the sound stuff. So I hope that answers your question, Matt, but I really don't know what you want from us.
Yeah, I don't think Matt had a question as such, but yeah, that was a comprehensive response. this next bit of feedback is...
And actually, can I just follow up on last week? Because I'm sorry about Vertical Hijack trolling you again, Jeff. And I don't really want to give this person the time of day, but we did receive another message from them this week, and you haven't seen it because I didn't want you to see it. So I'm just going to address this person directly. Vertical Hijack, whoever you are. No, I am not mocking Jeff with my bit in the live shows where I complain about him being lead presenter. That is called satire. Jeff knows that, and how dare you refer to him as pathetic? There's only one pathetic person in this situation, and it is not Jeff.
Okay, well, I'm going to use my lead presenter privilege right now and say that we should move on. Is that alright?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool, right then. Well, let's do some unfit to ultra FAQs. Now, yeah, you don't know about this, Johan, but what I thought I'd do, seeing as the big race is coming up this weekend, is ask all the questions that everyone's been just dying to ask, and, you know, you can give us all the answers. How does that sound?
Yeah, fair play, that sounds brilliant.
Brilliant. Right, so, number one, what is your current per kilometre time?
It's down to 7 minutes 43 seconds.
That's down quite a bit from last week, isn't it?
Yeah, last week was, what, 8:15-ish? So it's about 30 seconds shaved off, and I'm hoping to be at around 7:30 by the weekend. And honestly, a lot of that improvement is thanks to Omega Body Fuel, which is now 100% of my diet. That's not something they recommend long term, but in these final few weeks it's fine, and I'm feeling fantastic.
My next question was going to be about your diet, because the pounds just look like they're falling off you.
Thank you. And I know we've been getting some feedback from people who've been to the live shows, either saying stuff about skinny jabs or claiming they're worried about me, saying I look ill. But there's a reason we haven't read that stuff out in the show, and that's because I don't want to legitimise these rumours. I am healthy, I'm not ill, and that's all I've got to say about that.
No, thanks for clearing that up. A question we've gotten a lot of on the live shows during the Q&A section is, what distance is the unfit to ultra marathon?
The unfit to ultra marathon? Right. Yeah, because ultra marathons are technically anything over the length of a normal marathon, so there's loads of variation. Some of them take place over a period of time, like 24 hours. Some of them are double marathons, or they're big round numbers, like 100 miles. Unfit to Ultra is 50 kilometres, which is 31.07 miles. So approximately a marathon and a quarter, which is nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, you're telling me, mate. Honestly, I've got nothing but admiration for you. You know, my knees have been terrible since the days of playing rugby league in school, so yeah, running's just never worked for me. And yeah, I'm just mega impressed that people can run a mile, let alone, what, 31?
It's all about the training, and like I said a few weeks ago, I feel that's been a huge part of my development as a runner, even since the start of the year, training and nutrition. And I should say that this weekend only, Omega Body Fuel is marking my 50-kilometre run with a massive 50% off offer for new customers. Just enter the code TNR50 on their website, TNR then the number 50. So if you're curious about trying Omega Body Fuel, this weekend is the time to do it.
No, that's great.
John and the team at OBF have been incredible. They've invested in me, in my story, in my success, and it makes a big difference.
Of course, yeah, and, well, I know all about that.
Well, exactly, yeah, tray of sunshine. The photos you send me look amazing.
Yeah, it's not quite finished yet, the fit out, but it's just so close, I can almost taste it. I can almost taste the tray bakes.
Yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, no, we do. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Unfit to Ultra?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate your support, and if you're nearby this weekend, then by all means come and cheer me on. It'd be great to see you there.
Finally then, it's recommendation examination. I've got my list here. Just waiting for the clock to change on the dashboard, and go. Audiobooks.
Yes.
Smoothies.
Yes.
Ducks.
Sorry, ducks?
Yes, ducks.
Yes.
Scotland.
Love Scotland, yes.
Poker.
Yes?
Chess.
No, I've got to be honest, no.
Oh, what was that? and we had audiobooks, smoothies, ducks, Scotland, and poker. 5. Yeah, we've matched the top score.
Wow, did not expect that.
So 5 is still the score to beat, but now we've got 2 on 5, so who knows? There might even be a tiebreaker. I'm not too sure what happens there.
We'll cross that bridge if we come to it. And can I just say, I think I'm just a bit cranky today due to the tiredness. I'm not perfect. Matt, was it? Matt, thanks for getting in touch. We appreciate you. We appreciate all our listeners. I think I've just been so nervous about this ultramarathon that it's coming out in unintended ways.
No, I get it. It's a big deal, mate. And, we're all there with you. And, we're all wishing you all the luck. And, we just know you're going to smash it.
Thank you.
And that's a nice place to leave it, I think. So, yeah, next week, after Johan's completed his ultramarathon, we'll be in Reading for live, then driving back from Reading for drive. So from me, Jeff, on behalf of us, Johan and Jeff, this has been the New Recommender Drive on Starham Sound.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ram and Shackle.
Hi everyone, Jeff here. Just me today. As you can hear, I'm not on the road, not in a car, and that's because of what happened to Johan last weekend. Long story short, he had some sort of medical incident or emergency during the ultramarathon. It was about 8 kilometres into the race, and he had to be airlifted to the hospital, and that's where he's been since the weekend. It was pretty touch and go on the first night, but they say he's going to be all right, physically at least. They don't think there's any brain damage, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Obviously, we've cancelled the live show in Reading. We'll probably be cancelling the Swindon one as well. And then after that, we just don't know right now. We'll let you know. So yes, I accompanied Johan to the event. I drove him there. He seemed in great shape. He was confident. He had his pre-race dose of Omega body fuel. And then it just went wrong. Actually quite soon, really, in the context of the ultramarathon. And let me just say that, I don't have all the facts right now, but what I did find out was that this app that Johan had been using to train, well, it was intended for couch to 5K. And, clearly there's a huge difference between 5 kilometres and 50 kilometres. So Johan had been attempting to run a distance 10 times longer than the one he'd been training for. And his body, it just wasn't having it. That's my feeling on it anyway. Maybe there was some particular medical thing that happened, but to me, that's the logical explanation. And now I just hope he gets better quickly. And I'm sure all of you, our listeners, do as well. So yeah, maybe instead of the feedback this week, you could just send in your well wishes and I'll make sure they're passed on. Or perhaps I'll read them to Johan, even though he's currently comatose. That's it for today. Live and drive, currently in limbo. I'm sure you understand though. And yeah, next time I speak to you, hopefully we'll have some more positive news to share. All right. Yeah. Bye for now.
Starham Sound.
Hi everyone, Jeff here, just me again. First of all, and most importantly, let me just say that Johan is now out of hospital. He's home and he's recuperating. He's going to be fine, which is great. He wasn't well enough to join me today, but he really appreciates your well wishes and wanted me to thank everyone who got in touch. Most of the messages we received also had questions about refunds, which is fair enough. But if you haven't already been contacted by the venue, please just email them and they'll sort it out. As expected, the show in Swindon was cancelled and Bristol next week is also not happening. Newport and Cardiff are still on the cards and we're really hoping those go ahead so we can finish the series on a high. It's been a very busy week for me, partly because of Johan and the hospital and all that, but mainly because Tray of Sunshine is opening this weekend. So yeah, I've been doing lots of stuff like staff training, making tray bakes, sorting out insurance stuff, marketing. It's been hard, it's been tiring, but the shop/cafe is looking spot on and we can't wait to start serving customers on Saturday. We're doing an opening weekend offer of 2 free coffees with the purchase of each full tray bake. So if you are in the area, please do come along. We're on the ground floor of Starham House, which does still look like a building site, despite our best efforts. But we've put up some signs, and hopefully people aren't put off by the fences and the diggers and all that. On a more personal note regarding the divorce, well, more about John Haining, really. My wife, she still currently is my wife, she got in touch to say that John Haining would no longer be representing her. In her words, he was getting a bit too familiar. Now, we've known John for a long time, and to be honest, I've always had my suspicions that, he's had a bit of a thing for my wife, and, well, it appears he was trying to use our current situation to his advantage in that regard. So, yep, John's gone. And this past week has been the first time my wife and I have spoken in months, and it was really nice to do that. Yeah, and I hope moving forward we can do that a bit more. Right, so for the rest of the episode today, I thought we'd include a few minutes that we were able to get in Dundee on the very first date of the New Recommender live tour. Yeah, I don't need to tell you that it's not much, but Dave PA has done what he can with the material. So, enjoy. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the New Recommender live. It's so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming along. How is everyone? Thanks for leaving your homes, sorting out your babysitters if you needed to, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. I'll just do a brief bit of housekeeping before we get going. A content warning, really. We'll be talking about some people who appeared on our old podcast, The Recommender. Thank you. Yes, and one of those people is no longer in the public eye due to some things that happen. So let's just say that our discussion on this person is not intended as any kind of support for this person or their actions, okay? Right, for anyone who's not aware, my name is Jeff Roberts. And yes, I will be your host for this evening, but I know what you're thinking. Every host needs a co-host, and I've got the best co-host in the game. So please, welcome to the stage, your favourite Welshman of mine, Mr. Johan Morris.
Hello. How are you doing, Dundee? Here you go, Jeff. I brought you a present.
Oh, wow. This is a surprise. An actual surprise.
Sorry, I didn't have time to wrap it, but I think you'll enjoy it.
What is it? Oh, of course, it's a Dundee cake.
You know what they say, when in Rome, or in this case, when in Dundee.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'll enjoy that later.
What do we think, ladies and gentlemen? Should Jeff eat some Dundee cake right now? Yes.
All right. Okay. I'll have a little bit. Very nice, yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Right. Yes, I see. Yes, I give Dundee cake my total recommendation. Okay. Let's crack on with the show then. We've got a wonderful evening ahead. What is it we're starting with?
Recommender Reminiscence.
That's right. Yes, I was about to say, first up, we've got Recommender Reminiscence. So, yeah, let's start the show. There you go. A bit of history there. The only recorded evidence of the New Recommender live tour. I hope that was of some interest to you. A reminder that the show in Bristol will not be going ahead, but next week, touch wood, Johan will be back, and we're planning to have a little run around in the car to record an episode, just to keep the drive thing going. And of course, I'll let you know about the Tray Sunshine opening and all the other usual fun stuff. So until then, from me, Jeff, on behalf of us, Johan and Jeff, this has been the New Recommender Drive, I suppose, on Starham Sound.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommender with me, Johan. Yes, I'm back and it's great to be here, and Jeff's here too. Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
Right, I've got a lot to say today, so please bear with me. First of all, I'm fully recovered. No long-lasting physical effects, no brain damage either, thankfully. But really, that was all just a matter of luck, because what I think will be obvious to everyone is that my medical issues at Unfit to Ultra were entirely due to omega body fuel, or omega body poison, to give it a more accurate name. That stuff, it did a number on me. It clogged up everything, liver, heart, eyes, all of it, and it should not be consumed by anyone in any amount. And if you have any in your home, I suggest dumping it somewhere. Just get rid of it. In the past week, I've had a couple of sessions with a wellness specialist, and they are of the opinion that if I didn't have such a naturally resilient constitution, I would most likely be dead right now, entirely as a result of consuming such large quantities of omega body poison. I have alerted the relevant authorities regarding my experience, and I think we're going to see some movement there very quickly. Hopefully the people behind this product are dealt with, shut down as soon as possible, because it's dangerous and there's no other word for it. Secondly, I'm sorry to say that the rest of the New Recommender Live Tour is cancelled, and there's lots of reasons for that. First and foremost, the money we lost on Reading and Swindon and Bristol means we can no longer afford the venue hire for Cardiff and Newport, and actually it's less costly to cancel those shows than it is for them to go ahead. It's absolutely not something we want to do, but as previously mentioned, we've had no financial backing at all for this tour, and I refuse to put myself in any more debt because of it. Another aspect to all of this is my unhappiness with the creative choices that were imposed upon us before the tour started. I did my best under the circumstances. I think I even kidded myself that it was going well, that it was working. But the last couple of weeks of ill health and recovery have made things very clear to me. The New Recommender Live was a lesser version of what we do, almost unrecognisably so. And the New Recommender Drive was a compromise. Decent enough in the circumstances, yes, but I'm not willing to settle for that anymore. And there's one person at the root of all the issues I've mentioned, and that's John Starham. Honestly, it hurts me to say it, but I don't think he had the best interests of the podcast at heart. Certainly not in recent months, but possibly long before that when I think back to Starham Audio and all that business. So what I've done in the past week is take back the New Recommender. This is no longer a Starham Sound podcast. You'll notice the graphic for this episode includes the logo for High Quality Content, my own production company. This will no longer be a compromised, lesser version of the podcast, and I am determined to restore our reputation in the eyes of listeners. Now, coincidentally, you may well have seen that John Starham was arrested last Friday on a number of charges, including fraud, blackmail and bribery. This all came on the back of some new evidence coming to light about the Starham Audio studio that formerly occupied the space where Starham House now stands. I don't know how much I can say about this, but I think the implication is that John Starham, or someone on his behalf, did something to the studio building involving fire, let's say. But again, I don't want to speak out of turn. Just based on the stuff he has been charged with, I think we were dealing with a serious piece of work, which is obviously a huge shock. And I'm just glad that I had already decided to cut ties with him and to take the podcast back under private ownership on Thursday last week, which was before all this stuff came out. Jeff, I don't know if you had any thoughts or wanted to let people know what was happening with Trove Sunshine?
Well, we didn't have our opening on Saturday.
No. And let's be frank here, Trove Sunshine in its form as a cafe/shop at Starham House will not be opening because Starham House isn't going to open full stop. It doesn't sound like John Starham ever got the proper permission to build, and the only way he was able to finance it was through claiming insurance on the studio after it burned down, and by getting funding from people such as yourself, Jeff, who obviously gave him money with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
But ultimately, let me say, I think this is a good thing, because the John Starham era is over. This will be a new Recommender and a better new Recommender. And I'm looking forward to next week because we'll be back then with a proper, full fat episode of your favourite podcast. So until then, I've been Johan, he's been Jeff, and this has been the New Recommender.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.
Hello and welcome to the New Recommender with me, Johan Morris, and my co-host, Jeff Roberts. Last week I promised a proper, full-fat episode, and unfortunately I jumped the gun there. We haven't been able to make that happen, for which I apologise. But Jeff, do you want to tell everyone where you are right now and why you're there?
Hello. Yes, I'm back up north. I'm staying in the spare room of my marital home, and I'm here partly because I was no longer able to stay at Starham House, but also because, well, I just needed to get away for a few days. For obvious reasons, it's been a very stressful couple of weeks, and I just had to clear my head.
And as you can hear, Jeff didn't take his recording setup with him, so he's phoning it in today. You mentioned Starham House. What's the latest there?
Yeah, it's not looking great, to be honest. I've got a lot of money tied up in that place. I'm talking tens of thousands. Not just the money I gave John Starham, but all the equipment and the stock that I brought in. And right now, I've no idea how I'm going to get it back or whether that's even an option because, well, the case against John. But yeah, I'm seeking legal advice on all of that, and I've got a meeting set up.
Not with a certain Mr. Haining, I hope.
No, absolutely not. No, it's a Citizens Advice Bureau. There's now a hard deadline on all this stuff because yesterday Starham House was given a demolition order, which, according to the information I could find, is to be completed no later than 1 month from the date the police complete their investigation on the site. So that's how long I've got to retrieve it all. Probably 6 weeks at most. And right now, I'm feeling like the most likely outcome is that I'll lose absolutely everything.
Yeah, not good. But I will say, I've done some investigations of my own, and I hope this is helpful to you, Jeff, because I'm almost 100% certain that your troll, Vertical Hijack, was in fact John Haining. I don't have any hard evidence as such, but when you combine motive, opportunity, timeline, it really does make complete sense, and I think we can now safely close the book on that particular mystery.
Okay.
So, how long do you think you'll be staying up north?
Not sure.
I'll just say it would be great to record in person for the series finale next week. But if not, we'll get your equipment up to you, so we can at least record with a higher sound quality.
Yeah.
Right, something I wanted to do this week was get back to basics and return to the fundamental concept of the podcast, meaning recommendations. So I will do mine, and Jeff, if you've got one, you can do yours afterwards. My recommendation this week is true crime podcasts. Now, I know our listeners will be surprised to hear that because I said just a few weeks ago that I don't listen to podcasts generally, and one of my only experiences with this particular kind of thing was Susan Sheridan's Serial Slayers, when I listened to 5 episodes of that last year because of a collaboration situation that was imposed upon us by John Starham. And I didn't like Susan's podcast at all. I know your soon-to-be ex-wife enjoys it, Jeff, but perhaps she's a bit more bloodthirsty than me. I don't care for the murder and the gore, but I had a lot of time on my hands when I was recovering from being poisoned, and as a matter of market research and motivation, I thought, let's actually find out what the competition is doing in the podcasting world. What can we learn from them, what to do, and especially what not to do? But to my surprise, I ended up genuinely enjoying a couple of the series that were labelled true crime. The ones I listened to weren't dealing with murders, they were more tasteful in the types of crime they were covering. And I think if that's the direction they're going in, then true crime could well be the next big thing in podcasts. It's been bubbling under for a while, but I think we're about to see an explosion in popularity. That's my prediction from an insider perspective. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to recommend this week?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend not risking your most important relationship for the sake of a business. I'd like to recommend not giving away all your money to a dodgy bastard. I'd like to recommend listening to your gut when it comes to your friends who you suspect might have ulterior motives. And I'd like to recommend not organising a live tour, lead presenting a podcast, starting a business, and getting divorced all at the same time.
Well, I think that's all very sound advice, Jeff. And I haven't said this to you directly, but it was definitely my suspicion that John Starham put you in that lead presenter spot as a way of keeping you sweet and distracting you, quite frankly, taking your eye off the ball while he got on with all his criminal business.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And by the way, when I say suspicion, what I mean is this is what I've been thinking since John was arrested, because before that, to my shame, I had every faith in the guy. You know, it's not like I was in the habit of letting paranoia affect the quality of the podcast. Anyway, next week, as mentioned, is the series finale. And one way or another, it's going to be a noteworthy end to the series. I can guarantee that. So until then, from me, Johan, on behalf of us, Jeff and Johan, this has been The New Recommender.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2-for-1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.
Hello and welcome to The New Recommender, hosted by me, Johan Morris.
And me, Jeff Roberts.
Today is the final episode of what has been an unusually turbulent series of The New Recommender. We've got lots of news to share with you about the future of the podcast. But first of all, Jeff, why don't you explain to our listeners where we are right now?
We're in South Wales. We're both in South Wales, and we're currently on the roof of the office building that belongs to High Point Insurance.
And why are we standing on the roof of an office building?
Because about 200 metres away is Starham House, and in a matter of minutes, it's getting demolished. This wasn't meant to be happening for weeks yet, and as far as I've heard, the police had not finished their investigations on the property. So who knows whether this is legal or not, but it's all rigged to go down, and I don't think the authorities have much choice, really, but to go along with it all at this point. So they and John Starham will just have to deal with the aftermath.
So what happened is I got a call night before last from the guy who was the foreman of the Starham House site, and he said he'd been instructed to get all his remaining equipment and vehicles away from the area because it was getting demolished in a few days. Someone tipped him off. He didn't say who, but he very thoughtfully contacted me, and at that point I got in touch with Jeff, who drove down yesterday. We hired a van. We paid cash in hand to a few lads who'd been building Starham House, and we went there after dark and retrieved all the equipment from Tray of Sunshine.
Yeah, the 2 ovens, the refrigeration units, the coffee machine, tables, chairs, cash registers, all of it. And now it's in storage and it's safe.
It has been a crazy couple of days, hasn't it?
Genuinely, honestly, it's been like a film. I can feel my adrenaline going now just thinking about it. And like this demolition, I'm thinking, is it legal? Strictly speaking, probably not. But let's be honest, you know, the police, they've got bigger fish to fry. And I would argue that it's morally right that I've got my stuff back, even if it's not by the letter of the law.
Absolutely. And I suppose we're potentially incriminating ourselves by talking about it, but if John Starham wants to press charges for theft or trespassing or whatever, let him try. He can do it when he's dealt with all the other stuff he's got on his plate. One of those, actually, being the damages that I will be claiming from Omega Body Fuel. And I'm saying fuel because I've been advised not to use the word poison. But according to my legal representation, Clowes, Carver & Co., it's a slam dunk of a case. They have complete confidence in the outcome, and they're more than happy to represent me against one of their former clients because they are yet another entity that John Starham has shafted in recent years. And on a similar note, Jeff, why don't you explain why it's fitting that we're standing on the roof of this High Point Insurance office?
Well, High Point is the company I had my insurance policy with for the Tray of Sunshine shop/cafe. And you might remember me complaining about doing all of that stuff a few weeks ago now. But honestly, I'll tell you what, I could be more thankful that I did because, touch wood, it looks like we're going to get back a significant portion of the money that I put into the business. Not all of it, but something like 3/4. And believe me, I'm just cock a hoop. Yeah, I thought that was all gone. I'd spent the last couple of weeks trying to accept that, but just a huge, huge thanks to the guys at High Point, honestly, especially Melanie in sales who pushed me to get full coverage. That's made all the difference.
Amazing. Sadly, it's not all good news this week. Not to say this is bad news, but it's a big change. It's probably the biggest change ever for the podcast, the Recommender or the New Recommender. And it's unfortunate, but it is for the best.
Yeah. So it's 2 bits of news, really. The first bit is that my wife and I are getting back together.
That is good news, by the way. I wasn't insinuating that was the unfortunate thing. Obviously, I like your wife, not in a John Haining way, but I am thrilled that you're giving things another go.
Same here. Getting the money back, getting stuff out of Starham House, that's just a bonus. But this is the big one. Being away from each other for months and almost losing everything. Well, it's like you almost dying at that ultramarathon.
Yeah, it's like Joni Mitchell said, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, or almost gone in this case.
Yeah, and what that means is that I'm moving back up north permanently. And as a result, I've decided to move on from my role as the full-time co-host of the New Recommender.
And I know our listeners are in shock right now, because I certainly was when you told me. You know, I was perfectly happy to continue with our arrangement of remote recording, which is what we've done previously.
Yeah, and I've considered that. But what I've learned over the last several months is that, spreading yourself too thin just doesn't help anyone. And if I can't give my full focus to the co-hosting role, then I'm doing you and me and our listeners a disservice. So I hope that everyone understands.
I'm sure they do, mate. I'm sure they do. I think we're all just going to be gutted to see you go.
I've loved my time on the Recommender and the New Recommender, but it's the right time to leave. And I just can't wait to enjoy the episodes purely as a listener.
And you have assured me that you're open to returning as a special guest co-host.
Of course, yes. You haven't heard the last of me yet, don't worry.
That's a nice segue, because the immediate future of the podcast is going to be something very different indeed. And if Dave PA could drop in the teaser trailer here, you'll get a little taster of what that's going to be.
What can I say about John Starham? I trusted him.
Coming soon from High Quality Content.
I think we all trusted him.
A 3-part limited podcast event series.
But the truth is, we shouldn't have trusted him.
The Starham Swindle. There we go. The Starham Swindle coming out later this year. And I'm thrilled to say that our narrator for the series will be Jeff Roberts.
Delighted to be involved and delighted to be back in the high quality content fold once again.
It's great to have you back, mate. Great to have you back. And as listeners know, I've been wanting to get involved in the world of true crime podcasts for a little while. True crime podcasts, not what I would call true murder podcasts. And it was always going to take the right subject matter and some additional funding, neither of which looked likely, especially with the live tour collapsing like it did. But with my damages case and the John Starham criminal case, I now have the opportunity and the motive and the money to make it happen. It's all very exciting, so please look forward to that. We're aiming for an autumn release, but that's as specific as I can be right now. Okay, I thought we'd end with one last recommendation examination, because I think that's been the one true success of the series. To happen upon a format like that after so long doing this show, it was a wonderful surprise. So, Jeff, I've got my list here, I've got the timer set, and I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it.
And go. Houseplants.
Yes.
Football.
Yes.
Handball.
Yes.
Pineapple.
Oof. Yes.
Trees.
Yes.
The abstract expressionist artwork of Mark Rothko. You're on 5. Got plenty of time.
Mark Rothko. I don't want to lie. Just whoever winner, Bloody hell, what's that? Is that the countdown?
Yes, it's the warning hooter.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
What do you want to do about recommendation examination?
How long have I got?
No, don't worry. That's it. You've got 5. So I suppose we'll say it's a 3-way tie for the winner. And congratulations to the winning lists. So yeah, I should probably say quite quickly, thank you so much to everyone who's listened to this 3rd series of the New Recommender. Don't forget, the Starham Swindle mini-series is coming later this year. But for now, I've been Johan, And for the last time,
Yep. I've been Jeff.
and this has been the New Recommender.
The New Recommender is a high-quality content production, executive produced by Johan Morris and Jeff Roberts. Sound editing by Dave PA. Our theme is 2 for 1 Cocktails by Ramen Shackle.